Welcome to episode 132 of the Loane Hockey Podcast, where today we're going to be talking about some standouts in last night's matchup between Toronto and Edmonton and Saturday night matchup where Connor McDavid was in his hometown yesterday. And so the Maple Leafs ended up taking this one 4-3 in overtime, and they played a really good game. And we'll start with some standouts on their side. And Mitch Marner looked really good in this game. Marner's a guy who really stands out in terms of playmaking talent. I always notice his ability to cut laterally and maneuver laterally through opposing D and his ability to create offense and be able to do that in many different ways. And he's a guy who really stands out in the offensive side of the game, moving laterally in the O zone. And he's just very particular in terms of his details and how he's able to cut through guys and maneuver around guys. He's really good and he's become much better over the course of time at being able to use his backhand as well. And I feel like him using his backhand has allowed him to create offense, not only as a goal scorer, but as a playmaker, so he can find seams and be able to be a little bit more deceptive in that realm as well. And Bobby McMahon also looked really good in this game. He had that goal where he broke through everybody and is able to score to put the Leafs up. I believe it was 3-2 late in the third at the time. And he had that really nice goal, really nice finish, ability to showcase that speed element to his game and the ability to create that breakaway sequence, which is really impressive. And McMahon, ever since joining the Leafs, he's been a guy that stands out in that bottom six, bottom nine type role where he can be a guy who brings some hard skill to his game, but also at the same time, he can be very reliant in terms of forechecking and his ability to use energy and tenacity in his forechecking game. And a guy that stands out all across the board when it comes to his role and how he's able to be a two-way player and a two-way winger and also a really good forechecker as well. And I notice him a lot around the crease, and he's really good at being able to drive the net hard, and being able to finish and generate goals on occasion around the net. And so he's very productive in that realm. And Matthew Nyes also looked really in this game, a power winger who has a lot of hard skill and an ability to maneuver around defenders with his size. And he's really good at holding off guys one on one, being able to use his size, use his free hand to be able to negate stick impact of defensemen. And he's really strong in his skates and really underratedly strong, even for his age. I feel like he's a guy who can not get knocked off the puck too easily. And he's a guy that can really take advantage of sequences offensively when necessary. And so a guy who looks more like a play driver for the Leafs now and has continued to get better and better over the course of time for them and really fits the top six role, can complement any line that he plays on really well throughout the top nine and has become more of a top line complementary winger for the Leafs this season, which has been really impressive to see. And he's just continued to get better over the course of time. And John Tavares also looked really good. He had one assist in this game. Looked really good as a passer. Looked really good at being able to forecheck and also stay with this guy man on man coverage wise. I felt like defensively is where I noticed him a lot yesterday in terms of his routes and his ability to shut down plays in the neutral zone, but also the ability to be consistent in his D zone coverage and be able to maintain that composure there. I felt like when I was watching him, he was doing a good job of getting in lanes, getting in guys' faces, being able to negate some of their speed that the Oilers have off the rush. And again, Tavares isn't necessarily the fastest player, but I noticed him in that sense with his ability to sometimes slow down rushes and slows down transition opportunities for the Oilers. And then on Edmonton's side, they had they were up, I believe it was 2-1 for most of the game, and then the Leafs had those two quick goals, which made it 3-2 late in the third, and then they tied it, and then it eventually went to OT. And it was an interesting back and forth style game, but there wasn't much scoring impact early on in the game. It wasn't until I would say the late third where more of that scoring impact came overall. But Leon Draisaitl looked really good in this game once again. Him and McDavid multi-point games, a goal and assist for each of them, and 4 points combined for the both of them. And so with that Leon and Connor connection, I wrote about it in one of my articles recently. How those guys just continue to feed off each other. They read off each other so well. Their instincts are so well organized, and they complement each other really well. McDavid's really fast. Draisaitl's not necessarily the fastest, but he has other weapons in his toolkit that allow him to be more productive. He's an elite scorer, McDavid's, I would say, more of an elite playmaker, but has blossomed into more of an elite scorer. They just complement each other really well. They have that chemistry, and they're really unique in that sense where they can play with each other at 5-on-5 and also on the power play and just constantly find each other. And it's so interesting to see the evolvement of those two players over the course of time. They've just continued game out to be productive for the Oilers and really put the Oilers on their back. It's just amazing to see. I noticed it a lot yesterday where they were passing to each other through seams. They were able to find each other in soft ice areas. They were able to really read off each other instinctively and be able to find each other in areas that others usually can't. And so that allows them to sometimes fade away from the play and be able to be open options in that sense. Connor Brown looked really good with speed, also playing against his former team in this game in Toronto, and looked really good with the speed, his forechecking, his ability to create offense, and his ability to create off the rush. I feel like the Oilers, a large attribute to their game is their rush play. And obviously, when you have McDavid, you want to leverage your rush play and your transition offense as much as possible and slightly build around that. And the Oilers, systematically speaking, have more an offense that's built around transitioning and speed up the wings and, of course, speed up the center sometimes with guys like Henrique and you have McDavid and Nugent Hopkins and some of those other guys as well. And so he looked really good. And another former Leaf looked really good. Zach Hyman in this game looked very physical. He was defensively very active, forechecking wise, very active. And defensively, I've noticed him a lot. He hasn't been the most productive offensively this season, but defensively, I've noticed him in the sense of how he can position himself to guys, box out guys, stay above pucks, even as a winger, and sometimes plays defensively so sound that he could almost be a center. And he just plays the game defensively so strong and hard and very active on the defensive side of the puck, both at even strength and at PK situations as well. And then Jeff Skinner actually liked his game this game, and even though he didn't produce, he was noticeable off the rush. I noticed him transitioning pucks with speed. He was sometimes F1, F2 into the zone, and his ability to create offense was really impactful, and how he can create shots and how he can leverage shots off the rush. I feel like sometimes he's a little over reliant on his rush offense, but at the same time, he's showed a good ability to drive speed up the wings, drive pace up the wings, and be able to be a guy who can be relied upon at generating shots when necessary. And he just looked good in general. I was impressed with his game. I liked his game overall. And then Evan Bouchard, of course, looked really good at being able to move pucks up ice. Again, he didn't have any points in this game, but looked good moving pucks up ice, and he looked good at making first decisions, first passes, and the ability to create offense from that was really impactful. And I felt like Bouchard did a really great job of being able to do that on a regular basis in this game. His outlets are good, his passing through neutral ice was good, his stretch passes were good. I felt like there was a lot of passing elements into his game that are allowing Edmonton to be play drivers in transition and on entry situations. So those are some players that definitely stood out throughout the course of this game.